Hello, viewers. Welcome to this episode of the Mantle Podcast. Our focus today is on a critical question for Kenya's democratic future. Who is passing the mantle? For decades, political leadership in this country has remained concentrated within a narrow circle of families, ethnic alliances, and elite networks. This concentration of power has created what many now refer to as leadership monopoly. A leadership that limits renewal, silences alternative voices, and keeps just out of reach the promise of generational change. In this conversation, therefore, we seek to interrogate that monopoly and to ask a very fundamental question. Is power in Kenya truly being transferred to new generations, or is it simply being recycled within a old guard? To help us unpack this today, we'll hear from my two distinguished guests who are actively challenging the status quo. Together, we'll explore the structural, the generational, and institutional barriers that stand in the way of leadership renewal. And we also reflect on how these obstacles can be dismantled. More importantly, we will ask, what would it take politically, institutionally, and philosophically to reimagine leadership in Kenya? Our hope is that by the end of this episode, we will not only understand the dynamics that sustain Kenya's leadership monopoly, but also be inspired enough to envision a more inclusive, democratic, and meritocratic model of leadership, one that transcends personality cults and legacy politics and truly empowers the next generation. Today on the Mantle Podcast, we are truly honored to host Rev.Gowi Odera. Reverend Odera is a dynamic leader whose journey spans the religious ministry, youth empowerment, media, among other attributes. Gowi has worn many hats in his life, from co-founding the groundbreaking youth ministry, Kumbaba Crew, to serving as a youth pastor and church founder, to leading conversations in Kenya's airwaves as a radio DJ and also as a gospel music producer. He has academic roots in development economics and political science. Gowi, therefore, brings to this podcast both intellectual depth and practical wisdom from the spaces he serves. His contributions extend beyond the pulpit. In this regard, he has authored a book on leadership. He has also held leadership roles in national youth networks and has made significant contribution as assistant to the Bishop of Nairobi Chapel, as well as chair of CIFA FM. Today, he continues to shape conversations on faith, leadership, and family relationships through his podcast termed Kahawa na Gowi. Above all, he is a passionate preacher, musician at heart, mentor, executive leadership coach, and researchers of African Christianity and leadership. Reverend Gowi Odera's life reflects a consistent commitment to raising principled, people-centered leaders and shaping Kenya's future from the grassroots to the national stage. Reverend Gowi, I'm truly honored today to welcome you to the Mantle Podcast.
Thank you.
Karibu.
Thank you.
My second guest is Ms.Sophie Mugure Njehia. Ms. Njehia is a rising voice in Kenya's civic and political space. Sophie is a digital strategist, content creator, and youth leader whose journey reflects a unique blend of professional discipline, grassroots activism, and principled leadership. Sophie brings a diverse background that bridges technology, aviation, and public service. She's currently serving as a customer service representative and strategist in the private sector, while actively pursuing her political bid as the aspiring member of County Assembly for Thika Township Ward. She's also a mother, an aviator, and an active citizen passionate about accountable governance, constitutionalism, and youth empowerment. As the current Secretary General of the Revolutionary Gen Z movement and a member of the National Youth Convention, she continues to champion citizen-centered service delivery and equitable resource management, using her bold voice, digital influence, and unwavering commitment to transformative leadership. Sophie embodies the spirit of a new generation determined to reshape Kenya's future. Ms. Njehia, it is indeed an honor to welcome you to the Mantle Podcast.
Thank you so much.
And viewers, I am your host, Professor Maria Nzomo. Today's mantle discussions is who is passing the mantle of leadership. Are we breaking the leadership monopoly in Kenya? And to guide us on this topic, I want to start by asking, in a very introductory way, the same question to both my guests, starting with Rev.Gowi. Reverend, you have spent decades mentoring young leaders through religious ministry, media, and civic spaces. Now, looking at Kenya's political leadership at the moment and that whole journey of post-colonial era, do you think the mantle has genuinely passed on to new generations? And I say generations, not generation, because there have been several. Or is it still tightly guarded by the old guard?
The answer is no. And a definitive no. Mantles are not passed when it comes to political leadership. And if you could look just successive, just going back from those for the Uhuru generation, getting to independence, the mantle or whatever it was never, there was not a mantle. There was not, when I think about, successive, leadership, I'm thinking about really where something is being passed on. And that wasn't, because I think leadership, within political leadership is coalesced or built around ethnic polarization. And there's also what I call an economy. There's also a reward, financial reward around leadership, political leadership. And many of these individuals have made their living from leadership. And so to pass it on is like you're passing on your bread and butter. You're passing on your influence. And that hasn't happened. And let me give you an example. There was the Nzomo or Odinga kind of people, those are the people who started. Mm-hmm. And the leadership that came after them were what we currently have right mm-hmm. now. Mm-hmm. And most of those did not leadership wasn't passed to them. They literally grabbed leadership from them. Mm-hmm. Some has even been either because the leader did pass on, a lot of them it was because the leader passed on, so there was a vacuum and they took it over, or they fought and wrestled it off. our current president is an example of that. Literally fought that off from President Moi, embarrassing him completely in 2002, 2007, completely obliterating Moi's influence, and they wrestle for it. And so leadership is not passed on. You fight for it in the political space. That's my take.
Is this something unique to Kenya?
No. You're a professor of political science, and you could tell it is not that. I think within our context, it is not like that. And I would say it's because political power has a way of having a hold on an individual's mental psyche, their perception of the world, and it can be very intoxicating. And to leave it and to step away from it is hard. So when you see people walking away and handing it over, like what Nelson Mandela did, we venerate people like that. The way Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did it, we venerate those kind of people because they, in themselves, seeing this is transitory. They are only there for a season at a time. Mm-hmm. And so within our context, that is unique. It is not the rule, and it's not the practice.
Would you say there is some difference between the period prior to the 2010 Constitution and the present in terms of change? Have you noticed anything that you'd call some even slight generational shift? True, the personalities have changed since 2010, every 5 years. But where is the problem? Is it the generational change, or is it the individuals in office?
I think there are cultural norms that we have assumed politically, mm-hmm. or influence or speak into our culture and our practice in itself, mm-hmm. politically, mm-hmm. That have defined what it is. Even with the 2010 Constitution, mm-hmm. I think it's too early to tell, mm-hmm. all right? Because now we've had one president who has gone from that, and we'll be able to see, and this is institutional, mm-hmm. that we are seeing. Mm-hmm. He still wields, the proper president still wields influence and power. Mm-hmm. But again, did he grow leaders? Did he influence leaders? Did he pass on the baton? The jury is still out. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the leadership has been self-interest. Mm-hmm. Institutionally, we are being forced to transition to somebody else, mm-hmm. but I'm not sure it is part of our culture and
mm-hmm.
our practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sophie, like I said, more or less the same question, but I want to take it from an angle where, you are quite comfortable. You are part of a new wave of digital survey, very outspoken young leaders stepping into politics for the very first time. You have already offered yourself and told us you're going to run within your county. So from your perspective, what does passing the mantle mean to you and your generation? And why do you feel it's so urgent? Because one term is all about the urgency. Yeah, tell us, very candidly, why it is now so urgent, and that this change must come now.
Sure. Thank you so much, Prof, for this opportunity. It's such an honor to be here. So let me start with the first part of the question. That do I feel like the mantle has been passed? No, it hasn't. It's never been passed. We've seen the same individuals in politics since I was a child. I've seen all those people who are in politics today. I've grown up hearing them on the news. I don't see any different faces. But what's the problem? Like fellow guest has said, we have a culture that is deeply rooted in us as Kenyans, that we accept mediocrity, we accept the least educated individuals to make decisions about our future. Why is it urgent? it's urgent because we have 36% of our population living below the poverty line. 36% of 55 million Kenyans is about 18 to 20 million Kenyans. Mm-hmm. So if we say 18 to 20 million Kenyans cannot afford to live within $2, what are we saying? What is the median age of our nation today? The median age of our nation is 19 years old. We have such a young population, such a strong population, a population that has time, it has energy, but no money. But if you have time and energy, you can make money. You can use your time and your energy to manipulate the resources around you in your favor to create wealth. It's urgent because clearly the people who we have entrusted with taking care of our future, that is not their priority. In fact, their self-interest is their priority. So if we do not urgently take up this mantle by force, because clearly it's not being passed down to us, that means what we're sacrificing is not only our future, Prof. I'm sacrificing the future of my 2 children. I can't imagine them growing up to having conversations about no capitation to the schools, having conversations about the biggest referral hospital in Kenya giving you a prescription to go out there to look for medicine. I can't imagine us having a conversation of our indigenous seeds have been taken captive and now we have to eat GMO seeds. What is that going to do about their health? This is as urgent as it can be because now we are shaping the future for the generations to come. I don't want to sit with my son when he's 18 and he's asking me, what did you do about my future? It's urgent because we have a generation that is exposed to digital resources. We have, in the first world countries, young people as early as 6 years old are exposed to coding and AI. But here in Kenya, our priority is stifling the power of social media. Our priority is not even connecting the entire country to the internet. In fact, it's how can we stifle the power of the internet in our nation? So how am I going to ensure that the generations that are there now and after me can equally compete with their generations in the first world countries? So, in fact, we're being put at a great disadvantage. Yet Africa is the richest continent in the world. So this, in my opinion, is as urgent as it can be. And as a revolutionary, I believe that whatever it will take, and I mean whatever, Prof, if it means going and taking it by force, let it be. But what is at stake is way bigger than even my life itself.
You know, there are people who don't want to know exactly how do you envision this. First of all, unless I'm wrong, you'd obviously be guided by the Constitution.
Absolutely.
Yeah? And the Constitution clearly says after 5 years, we have to renew our leaderships.
Yes.
And whether we are returning the same ones or getting rid of them.
Yes.
And in this case, my guess is that you want all of them out.
In fact, it's fagia wote. Yes.
But how do you do it? As you know how elections go in this country, the outcome says so-and-so has won, and it's not one of you, the election, and through the ballot. And even the observers and everybody say it was a free and fair election. Then what do you do?
I like how you started this question with alluding to the power of the Constitution. In Article 1, it says categorically that the people can exercise their power directly or indirectly through their elected representatives.
Yes.
But it goes on then to give power mostly to our elected representatives who essentially are supposed to represent the voices of the people who elected them. But I like the fact that it starts with saying the people can exercise their power directly. So if the power that I have given to my member of parliament or my member of county assembly does not represent what me as the giver of that power wants, the Constitution allows me to take that power directly. So if in the position that the person who is elected and everybody is saying it's free and fair and that's not what we believe, then it's absolutely within our constitutional right to take that power directly by ourselves. Mm-hmm. We have seen it being done in recently in Nepal, recently in Bangladesh, recently in Sri Lanka. And it comes from when the oppressed become tired of the oppressor, mm-hmm. then resistance and eternal vigilance is inevitable. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing they can do about it. It mm-hmm. gets to the point where you see those who are in power go into exile, they run away because they already appreciate the fact that the people power mm-hmm. is what is prevalent. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Would you call that a civic coup?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And in those civic coups that have happened, mm-hmm. you will find that even the military somehow comes on board. Mm-hmm. Like in Nepal, they would not have done it without the military assistance. So yes, it's a civil coup. Mm-hmm. And I envision that happening in this country. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you for a fact, if this is how this government is going to continue running, mm-hmm. then we might not even get to 2027, Prof.
Since you are the Secretary General of the Gen Z movement, yes. I would take it that this is the Gen Z position you're also talking about.
Absolutely. Because we are the ones who are feeling the pain mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. of every wrong thing the government is doing now.
The reason I'm asking you that, Sophie, there are some who would say, the few people you see on the social media, they're just activists. The larger majority are not part of this. In other words, those huge numbers that we are calling the youth, that they may not be with you, that you are just, a few disgruntled elements, claiming to speak on behalf of everyone else. How would you respond to that?
I would say I'm an opinion shaper, mm-hmm. most especially because those who are in my generation, mm-hmm. like the conversation we're having now, mm-hmm. we have not been allowed into the spaces mm-hmm. where we make decisions concerning us, mm-hmm. where we participate in policy making, mm-hmm. where we are allowed to give our input, even through the bare minimum as public participation. That
like
is
this one.
Considered like this one. That is null and void to the voices that are present.
Yeah.
So if I come out and I say this, like I have said, I want to be member of County Assembly for Thika. Mm-hmm. So of course I consult my people in Thika. Mm-hmm. So when I sit here, I'm actively representing the voices of the young people of Thika.
It is good to put it that way, so that, because a lot of people are going to watch this,
yes.
and they wonder who really do you represent with those ideas.
Well, yes. When I'm sitting here at the moment,
yes.
I represent the people, the young people, and all the generations of the people of Thika, as well as my generation.
Do you represent others who are not of your generation, Absolutely. But share the same views?
Yes. The goal is to share ideologies, mm-hmm. to share our culture, mm-hmm. and of course, progressive voices. Mm-hmm.
Now, Reverend, I'm going to come back to you on that issue of culture and that you raised. As somebody who has been on this journey, mentoring the young leaders for a long time, do you think that Kenya has a genuine culture of mentorship? Because one of the things that is being said now is that, the Gen Zs have their heads in the right place. They have a vision and a clear one about what they want, but are they properly mentored and ready to take on leadership? And in that context is why I'm asking you this question. Do you think that Kenya has a genuine culture of mentorship? Or is it mostly just symbolic, where the older guard holds on to power while preaching mentorship?
Prof, sitting here and listening to Sophie, I'm saddened by the posture that she has taken. I don't think Sophie should have taken that posture. But necessity has got her to bear. It shouldn't be that way. Sophie should have I won't say easier, but a better approach of being able to contribute to the national discourse, to shaping her future and the future of those who are going to come after her. But unfortunately for Sophie, and many in this country, that is not the place. To say, do we have a culture of mentally? I think when you hear people say mentally, it is much more to pacify. It is more paternalistic in itself. It's not in a place to. It's a place to measure people or to kupoesha watu. You know, don't go. Keep you to within the bounds where we can manage you, where you can be controlled. Because if it's about mentally, I think people would be very open. And let me give you an example. There is a politician, my age mate, and this gentleman has been in office. I won't say the region because now people will start saying this. And is aspiring, and if he plays his cards right, you know, at least before last year, June, if he plays his cards right, but how the ground has shifted. I asked him this question. I said, I told him, bro, why don't you sit with the older people from your region? Because I think you're the future for that region. Sit with them and all this. And he says, Gowi, I've tried. I've called these men, specific and the men, to be able to sit down with them, the elders and all that, and talk about how did you get to where you are? Who did you choose to be able to get to where you are? And this is a leader who's come from my circle. So he's pretty much come from the church circles. And he says, none of these men have opened doors to be open and vulnerable to me about how they made it to where they are. And then I asked him, why do you think so? He says, Gowi, you tell me. You're a smart man. And I said, maybe they don't want to tell you, the ins and outs. Exactly. They're not ready to expose of what they did to get where they are. Because what they did to get where they are, Prof, you and I and Sophie know this, is that they never used the ladder going up. These people were parachuted into their place using other means and all that. So for me to come and tell you to mentor, what am I mentoring you with? I don't have the moral authority to be able to mentor Sophie and tell her, Sophie, this is how I got here. Because I have used unscrupulous means to be able to get here. So if I'm going to mentor Sophie, I'm going to show her the dirty tricks that I have come to gain these influence. So I have no moral authority. And Sophie's generation is calling us out on that. So if you say we're going to mentor, they can't. They don't have the moral authority to mentor. And I also dare say this is not just for political office. This has been even in the private sector itself. You go and ask, have you made your money in an honest way? Have you raised your family in an honest way? And I would say there are many people where we fall short. I'm not saying the mentoring doesn't happen, but we fall short as a culture in being able to be transparent and to model good leadership. So we can't say that these young people are going on the streets, all right? And they are calling for good governance. But their teachers, all right, are the same ones on the streets saying we want our CBA. All right? So me, I'm seeing my teacher is there asking for CBA and all this. Why can't I go and do this? Is what we know every 3 to 4 years there is going to be a teacher strike. We know that. All right? Because that's the cycle of how the government negotiates CBA. Yeah. All right? We know that every year doctors and nurses are going to go on strike. We know it is. We know that almost every other year doctors and nurses go on strike. Those are the three. But that shows you where the priorities of this country are. Yes.
But are you suggesting that doctors and others who go to the streets, just like the Gen Zs are doing, to fight for their rights, which have also been taken away. That's not a genuine enough reason.
The difference between the Gen Zs and all the other strikes is all of us resonated with these young. What the Gen Zs have been doing, it resonated with all of us. So when you see teachers on the street, that is teachers. Okay? When you see nurses, I know that is what is on nurses. All right? I'm not a nurse. I'm not going to, I don't have a relative who's a nurse. So it doesn't directly. But the thing that Sophie and her generation and subsequent generations that are going to come in, they are touching on issues that cross the board, all of us in itself. And we go back to the thing about mentoring. I think what this generation is forcing us who are older to do is to look at us. They're holding a mirror to us and saying, this is who we have become. So if I'm to start mentoring Gen Z, one of the things I should be doing is telling her, Sophie, this is who I am. These are the mistakes I have made. And these are my successes. This is where I could have done different. I'm not sure our older generation, my generation older, are ready to have those candid conversations. And that's why they are calling us out.
But wouldn't you say, Reverend, that it's a little bit of a generalization? And I do understand the position of the Gen Zs, absolutely, completely. And, and their experience in this short time they have been in this world has not given them confidence, even any basis to trust the older generation. But isn't there something there, and it's very much part of mentorship, that perhaps the older generation, and you are right, you have to come by, even if you are mentoring, you have to come by saying, this is the mistake I also made, and these are the things I did right. To tell honestly your life's journey and how you got there. But I'm also worried that if we allow things to continue the way they are going, it would alienate the generations in such a way that, Sophie cannot trust anyone who is not her generation, because they are part of the other, all the people who have done 1, 2, 3. Then where are we going to get the mentors from?
Prof, you ask a good question, but I think this is the reality we have. You show me a mentoring program, system, or process that is not incentivized with money or profit or gaining power and influence. Just show me one.
A program. This is one.
Process, all right? This is without getting a financial incentive, so there's profit around from it, or it is power or influence.
I would say this is one, and I would want to assume it's not the only one. I'm not funded by anyone to do this.
But you see, Prof, you are an anomaly. You are a kink in the system. You're not the norm. All right? You're not the norm. Even when we were speaking to you off camera and in our interaction, you are not and this is not to blow your trumpet, Prof.
Not really. I'm only saying we have to reason together. Absolutely. And that's why this intergenerational dialogue is important. Because I feel her pain, but I cannot, be her generation, that's for sure. And, I would want it not to be a situation where you are either of our age or you are out.
So what I'm saying...
We need to bridge that gap and say, even within your generation, there are some very bad people.
Yes.
It's not everybody who is...
being young doesn't equate to being good.
It shouldn't be... Yeah. It shouldn't be the basis for, looking for a bridge.
Yes.
Because we are all living in this Kenya. The thieves, the crooks, the best, the good, the bad, and the ugly, isn't it? So it's a question of, at the very minimum, how are we going to coexist, even in the new brave world that may be led by Gen Zs?
Let me just maybe 30 seconds for me, 5 seconds of this. I say, and I say this, there's a posture of the heart that this older generation needs to be able to embrace. Because the ground has already shifted. There is lack of trust
That definitely. Trust is gone.
Okay, so how do you build the trust?
Exactly.
And I say, the posture that you are taking, you have a podcast where you're having these conversations. So you're now ready to, for me, I think you're very ready to listen. All right. But you're not the majority, Prof. I think you're in the minority. And I think the onus is on those who have the influence to be able to assume a posture similar to what we're having here in the podcast. Yeah.
Sophie, I'm going to allow you to complete that sector because I know you have something to say about it. But I also want you now to shift a little bit towards your bid. I know when I said you're bidding for the county assembly, you smiled. Now, from that perspective, I also want you to answer the question, if you can. What do you see to be the major barriers you personally are encountering as you try to break into these places which is, you're saying, is dominated by the old guard? Are you already feeling, barriers are being put in your space? And, in other words, if you are looking out for help, what would you be looking out for help for?
Sure. Let me start by contributing a bit to what you asked Rev. I feel like he's got it spot on because there has to be a form of goodwill for something to happen. You personally have the goodwill to see transformative leadership and accountability and transparency replicated on young people. And that is why you're doing this. But for those who have occupied the offices that have a say on how our future will look like, I'm sorry to say, I do not see any form of goodwill, whether political or just natural goodwill, for just being a servant leader. And servant leadership spans across board to actual decision-making and policy-making that influences better future for young people. And also even your mannerisms as an individual. If you're just corrupt, you will lie to us without even blinking. And you're lying, but you're not blinking. You will go to the extent of using the name of God to validate your lies. Then I think we have a long way to go. And it goes to the extent of somebody is willing to even do as much theatrics as possible for their story to be believable. I mean, we were told we would be making phone calls na credit itawaisha. We were told we'd have free Wi-Fi everywhere. For heaven's sake, I was pregnant in 2022 and we were told we'd have 3 diapers for 3 months. Free diapers for 3 months. Up to now, I've never seen a free diaper. Like, we have no goodwill and we take advantage of how disadvantaged the citizenry is. Because how many people are exposed to social media? Very few. How many people are exposed to what is happening in other countries in the world? Very few. So you take advantage of the illiteracy of Kenyans and the naivety of Kenyans, and you will sell them air, hot air, and you expect them to take it. So I think the change should be innate. It should come from a point of intentionality to pass down the mantle, to share the space, because there's enough for all of us. I feel like they gatekeep so much because they imagine that they should just only be passed on to their children. That if I die, my child should become an MP. If I die, my child should become the president of the nation. Instead of spreading it out as stated in the Constitution, that free, fair, equitable distribution of resources, including mentorship, to all generations. Now I will go to the second part of the question where you asked about my bid for the MCA of Thika Township Ward. Well, there's so many barriers. Number one, I am a woman.
Already?
I'm 29 years old. So if you go to Thika and you tell a 60-year-old man that a 29-year-old girl wants to be in the county assembly of Thika, a great industrial town, a town that contributes greatly to the GDP of this nation, they'll be like, are you okay? Do you even have any experience? Have you worked before? Do you know what politics is about? Do you have any money to support your campaign? So it's my age, it's my gender, it's my economic position, because I do not have the money to go giving out, yet my competitor is giving out 10,000 shillings and 5,000 shillings and taking people to be given 10,000 and 5,000. So my competitive advantage at the moment is talking about issues that are affecting my people. For instance, right now, Kiambu County, the government doctors and hospitals have been on strike for the past 3-4 months now. So the people of Kiambu County, and Thika particularly, experiencing a hard time having affordable healthcare. Yet that is part of Article 43 that states, in fact, we should have the highest standards possible of healthcare. So what is giving me an advantage right now is my boldness to speak about the issues that are affecting my people. And I believe that will give me a sort of advantage. But what sort of assistance do we need, myself as a young aspirant and my fellow young aspirants? Number one, we need platforms like this to be able to show the world that we're just not noisemakers. We have something in between our brains. We have read the Constitution. We know what is happening in other countries for our generation, and we are exposed. Number two is, of course, financial support. Because if you believe in my dream, you know I will need to move around Thika to talk to people. You know I will need branding. I will need posters. I will need, of course, to hold town hall meetings. And all these things require money. Unfortunately, the politics of this nation requires finances. So, of course, we need that assistance. But lastly, what we need the most is for not only our generation to listen, but even those who came before us to be willing to sit down and be like, okay, something is not working. What is not working? We go back to history and identify where did we go wrong. So then we can take a turn and now particularly shape our future as a nation, that we can even be the best country in Africa. As Kenyans, we have all the resources. We are very hardworking. But right now, what is happening? Countries that we wouldn't expect, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, Ethiopia, they're overtaking us because we are making deliberate mistakes at ensuring that our future is not as great as it's supposed to be. And I would say I have experienced good support from the people of Thika. For instance, what I'm wearing right now, there's a lady we go to the same church with. She owns Hisi Studios. And Hisi Studios is focused on inclusivity of disability into fashion. What is here? This red thing, this green thing.
Yes.
This is Braille.
Oh.
And what it says is, the less we see with our eyes, the more we see with our hearts. So she came to me and told me, now because I don't have money to give you, I offer to be styling you. For every podcast.
How old is she?
She's my age.
Yeah?
She's 29, like me.
Exactly. You talked about the barriers,
Yes.
including people who will not support you for obvious reasons, your age, this and the other.
Yes.
But I thought that kind of voting group would be a minority, because now your generation are the majority of voters.
Yes.
I mean, you can sweep any place, heads down.
I agree.
And they are representative. You are the Secretary General of the Gen Z movement. I thought that would count for something. And I don't think those who genuinely believe in you would expect you to be dishing out money to them. They would support you because they believe in Sophie and what she stands for. Am I wrong on that?
Well, Prof, there is a difference between the idealistic world
Yes.
and the actual reality on the ground. So what we're experiencing right now is a weaponization of our hunger and our poverty.
Yeah.
The majority of my generation were unemployed. We're sitting in our language tunaita base. Tumekaa kwa base. We are waiting for the day to go by. So this other person comes and says, I'll give you 500 shillings. And 500 shillings, I haven't gone to do any hard work for it. And I have food for the next 2 days. And Sophie comes here, she's telling you her very good ideologies and how we should look at our future and believe in the vision of how Kenya can be better. Unfortunately, because my generation is hungry and poor, sadly, we get to be used. So what we're trying to do now, because we have 2 years to the elections, is to try and change that mindset. Because what we need as Kenyans...
That's what I thought.
...is a mindset
it's a mindset issue.
A mindset shift.
Yeah.
So slowly, it's gradual. We're taking baby steps. We came out to the street on 25th of June of this year.
Yeah.
We were coming out to commemorate those we lost last year.
Yes.
But do you know how many counties came out? We had 27 counties out. And if we are to win an election, we need 24 counties out. So we're already we have some form of head start. But
you have 2 years to prepare.
Exactly. So we're battling voter apathy. We're battling just the lack of belief that the electoral process can be free and fair. So I think within these 2 years, we can achieve some level of mindset shift. And what we're trying to do, particularly as the Gen Zs, is to ensure that we have enough numbers in parliament and we have enough numbers in the county assemblies. So that no matter what happens in the top office, we have enough strength down here to ensure that we don't have a repeat of what is happening right now.
I think that's a more positive way to proceed.
Yeah.
And I was getting worried that you are giving up before you have even started.
Absolutely no. Is that even an option? No.
Yeah. When you start putting obstacles ahead, you should try and convert some of those obstacles into really opportunities to do things.
Yes.
2 years is plenty of time.
Yes.
They say even a day in the life of politics is a very long time.
Absolutely.
Now, Reverend, I'm going to allow you to, ask whatever it is you wanted to ask Sophie. But while you are at it, I want you to continue a little bit on that point from your perspective. Your own thoughts about what you see yourself from where you are seated as the key challenges and the prospects in respect to the capacity and potential of our youth who like Sophie, they really want to take the mantle and use it effectively to transform this country for the better. What would you, in your opinion, say? You have listened to Sophie's, version of what she sees as a key obstacle. What about you, in terms of those, the challenges? But I would also want to hear prospects, because challenges is cementation. They don't take you very far. Sure. You need to face on head on. It's the bull by the horns and say, okay, it's a problem, but yeah.
I think there has to be a place, and I value a space like this. Where we can have discussions. And I think discussions like this is now going kwa base. In the sense that I think they are what Sophie and her generation bring to this discourse is not just the vibrance, energy, but also new ideas. I think their real lived experiences. If I'm to make a decision now, you hear the president say, we want to be like Singapore. I'm not sure he can realize that. Actually, I don't think he'll be able to realize that.
Who?
The current president. Because that's what he says. He said this recently.
Yes.
And simply because I'm not sure that is where these people are thinking. Their aspiration is not to be the next Singapore. I would challenge you, if you'd sit down with a educated, exposed Gen Z, they would like to even surpass Singapore. They're thinking much, much farther than that. And so I think there has to be a place where they are ideas are on the table, and opportunities for those ideas, and for us to be able to challenge those ideas, and the same for them to challenge our ideas. There have to be many more of those spaces where these new ideas that young people have can be in the part of the discourse, because we might end up trying to shape a future that those who are going to be able to be alive to experience, right? It's different. In the African Union, around 2013, they came up with the vision 2063. But in that room, and I have some of my peers who are there who asked, none of these people here will be alive in 2063.
That is true. Yes.
All right. So why are you talking about 2063 when you don't have the people who will be alive in 2063 in the room in the next 50 years? You should be having teenagers and people who are in their early 20s in this room so that they can be able to project what would be. And so I think there should be spaces and many more of those spaces.
And take ownership of that future.
Many more of those spaces where the young people are in the part of those conversations. If we really, really want to chart our future, I think those spaces, and people like you, Prof, and I can be able to facilitate those spaces where these ideas are being brought, and then we can challenge those ideas. We can workshop those ideas and bring them into public discourse. Kuwapeleka huko kwa base, while we engage with them and itself. But this is the question I wanted to ask you, Sophie. I think there are some assumptions your generation has made. And I think one of the assumptions that you have made is that the country is going to rally around you. What are the mitigating measures that you are putting in that you are going to include the country? Because I would say, if I am not Gen Z, I am part of the problem. Okay?
Yeah.
And so what contributions do you think my generation and that of Prof can be able to contribute to your aspirations and to be able to shape a new Kenya? So we are thinking about leadership going down. That's how Prof has said, passing on the mantle. But there's also the place of the recipients of the mantle to be able to, to engage going up.
Yeah.
What would you think would be some of the things that you have had? And are there some assumptions you have? I don't know, but I thought I'd throw that to you.
Can I answer you?
Yes.
I would start by, first of all, telling you that Gen Z is not age. Gen Z is a progressive mind, a mind that wants a better Kenya, a mind that sees basic rights fulfilled and provided for every single citizen in this nation.
So Gen Z is a thinking.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
It's a culture. It's an ideology. So you are Gen Z in your own way because you want a technology. Prof is a Gen Z. Absolutely. Because she is doing this. Yes. And this is contributing to the discourse of wanting a better nation.
It's not Gen Z, we can say.
It's Gen Zote. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And if you look at particularly like the movement I come from, when we're stating what we're about, we call it intergenerational movement, where we accept all generations. But what is the cutoff line? You have to want change. You have to want to challenge the status quo. You have to want better for the coming days after that. So what I'm simply trying to put out to you is, we, the young people, we're actually looking to be taken under your wings. For those of you who are doing it right, we want to know, what does it take to stand up and say no to 5 million shillings put on this table, and I'm told, Sophie, I'm giving you 5 million, keep quiet, don't be talking from today. I want you to show me that this 5 million shillings is not worth it to me right now. In fact, I can make 50 million shillings if I keep doing what I'm doing. So I'm simply trying to put it to you that we are receptive, we are open to learning, but we are also putting ourselves in the position where we're brave enough to be the agents of that change. You don't have the energy, I have the energy. So you pour into my cup, boost me, catapult me out there. I'm strong enough, I'm brave enough, I can do this. So what can you do to make me a better orator? What do you have that you can offer me that once I put myself in that position of leadership, then I don't become the leaders that we have now. And like we put it, being young doesn't mean you're good. And that is what the citizens need to understand. The fact that I'm young doesn't mean that I'm the perfect choice. You still have to interrogate me. You still have to know the person that I am, so that when you put me there, then you know you're entrusting me with your future, and you're entrusting the correct person. Yes.
We are continuing on this same tone. It's something now. I'll turn to you directly.
Yes.
The generation you say, I have just identified with them just a while ago. So I'm going to be also now part of this question,
yes,
which I'm requesting you to try to. It's a continuation of the same.
Yes.
There are some terminologies. Call it your ideological standpoint that the society has been describing you with. Not just you, Sophie, but your generation. You're saying they are bold, they are disruptive, and they are unapologetic, among others. How are you going to redefine leadership yourselves? I'm sure we share the same view here, that it is not necessarily your age that gives you, or entitles you to leadership. It is the values, it is what you are bringing on the table, etc. How do you define then your generation in terms of this generational shift in how they are going to redefine leadership for the better, so that we can really say these are transformative leaders.
Yes.
They are doing what previous generations failed to do.
Yes.
Now, and put yourself in that pinnacle where you are not just a county assembly representative, you are actually sitting in State House with I can see the smile on your face.
Absolutely.
How would you redefine leadership with your innate capacity differently so that it serves all of us? Your generation, starting with your own generation.
Sure. I believe, first of all, like I said earlier on, it should be, first of all, understanding where did we go wrong as a country. Because since we got independence, and if you look at the first president and his government, he had so many young people around him. In fact, he embraced youthful leadership to the point someone like Tom Mboya was a minister. So where did we get it wrong? First of all, is what we need to internalize, accept, and say, okay, chart a roadmap from there. But most importantly, it should be about value-based leadership. So what do we stand for as young people? As a bare minimum, first of all, would be having respect for the 2010 Constitution of Kenya. In fact, it is stated to be among the most progressive constitutions in the world because it gives power to the people. So since the inception of this constitution, we have not had a government that is fully implementing this constitution. So for start, what we are offering as a redefinition of the existent status quo is respect, honor of that constitution, fully implementing it without changing a word. Let's fully implement it. Let's see how respect to the rule of law looks like. You see, if we have a government that respects the rule of law, it won't matter who's president, it won't matter who's your MP, it won't matter. Resources will be equally distributed. What are we fighting for? We're fighting for justice, Prof. We're fighting for a justice system that allows even the poorest person to access justice in the easiest and the fastest way possible. Right now, if you don't have money, access to justice is absolutely curtailed. What are we fighting for? We are fighting for servant leadership, service delivery to the people that will change the material conditions of Kenyans to the highest possible standards that ensure every single Kenyan can live a dignified life.
Let me just interrupt you there, Sophie, because we are now trying to, somebody, among our viewers listening to you, really would want to know, apart from your age and, your strength, your dynamism, your ability to be bold and, et cetera, beyond you, Sophie, who is already proven that, you've been consistent in your message and so on, we are talking about a complete value change.
Yes.
In terms of the way we relate to leadership.
Yes.
Whether you are occupying State House or you are in another lower level, the concept of transformative leaders. How would you ensure that people who already have mindset, young and old, that when you are in power, first of all, it's about filling up your pockets. Issues of corruption are sanitized, etc. How would you change the other mindset? Is that something you can do immediately you get into office? Or do you see, would you have, I don't want to use that word. I don't want to be associated with those who are asking others whether they have a plan. But I would ask you, in your view, how do you envision this new leadership to be different? So people can say, okay, apart, she talks nicely, she's very bold, she's this. What is it that you are going to do differently? Do you have what it takes? The will. You asked us a while ago if that one of the areas you want to be mentored is to do with the temptation of taking 5 million, which has just been offered to you free of charge, which was really a very good example of the kind of problems you are going to face, including your ministers and those around you. They may come to your government simply for purposes of eating. And all this big terminology we've been talking about, when we get into power, we are going to say the economy, this, that. You can't do it alone. You need the citizens to be with you, and they are not also saints. You need your comrades to be with you, and some of them may just be waiting to that office to get what they never got before. How do you deal with that? Or how do you envisage your generation to deal with that problem?
I envision us taking this political space with the professionalism that it deserves. I use the word professionalism because, Prof, if I'm employed today, I have to be at work at 8. If I'm not at work at 8, I have a letter on my desk that says why you're absconding work. So if we treat political offices with the same professionalism that we treat other sectors of our lives, I think things will change, because for starters, we'll not have MPs running around following the president instead of taking care of what the people want. Number two, in your professional capacity, you're expected to be very transparent, very integral. You will not steal money from the company. If you're given money, you have to account for it, how much you used every single shilling. Your company will be audited. So we need to translate the values that we have in our career areas to simply replicate that to the political environment. And that also includes putting in people who deserve, who are educated enough to offer services to the people. Because why do you have a health minister who's not a doctor, who's never studied medicine? Why is he in charge of health in Kenya? Why do we have a CS who hasn't done anything about mining and resources in that industry being a CS of that area? So basically, to answer you in a nutshell, it's just to bring the values and what we trust in the professional sector replicated into the political world. And that includes discipline as well. How you dress, how you talk, how you eat, how you interact with people. It's just basically that. But lastly, what we will bring to the table as young people is ensuring that we can take criticism positively. I do not have to kill you for telling me I'm doing the wrong thing. I do not have to abduct you and torture your family. No, I can take criticism positively. Sophie, here you're not going in the right direction. Then now we engage. So what can we do to make things better? So accepting dissent and vigilance as the young people will be part and parcel of our leadership.
And Reverend, from where you are seated, you've been a religious leader, you have worked also in the civic sector, so you have experience of both. You represented a moral voice, let's put it that way, and leadership has a moral element to it. And we're talking about a very difficult terrain here of changing people's values and beliefs. Do you share the common approach that Sophie has expressed here in terms of how do you dismantle not just the institution, but also and especially the value system and bring up, a complete overhaul? Do you think they have the capacity to do it? Or what do they need?
I think they do. And it gives me hope when you hear the Sophies of the day speaking like this. It reminds me of my father's generation, because he was part of the Uhuru generation. My father was part of the first Tomboya airlift. When they left, I think it was 1956, 57, they had the promise of coming back, and they were very idealistic at where it is. And I think that's what Sophie's generation reminds me of. Reading my dad's memoirs and some of his journals, it's similar to what they and it's refreshing to hear. They are, in my opinion, the factory reset for that independence generation. But here's the challenge for Sophie and her movement. I think there's a place for learning and a place to be to grow. I don't want to say taught, because if you teach them, it's different. I think there's a place of workshopping their ideas. I am part of a movement that's coming up. It's called the Sparrow Movement. What we are trying to be able to do is learn from some of the wins that we have in the past, where we are training aspiring younger political conscious individuals on a certain philosophy, a way of doing things and a way of thinking. It's enshrined first in the dream of those in independence and the 2010 Constitution in itself. And I think movements like that, the Sparrow Movement and others that I know could be in the making, to be able to, for lack of a better term, indoctrinate.
I like that one.
You like that one, right? Yeah. Indoctrinate them in this is the way we should do it. Because it's like a child. When you tell a child this is what you do, they don't know anything different. All right? So if you are indoctrinating Sophie that you come to work at 8 o'clock, all right, and you're in government service, she doesn't know anything different. She just knows I am entering this office, 8 o'clock, I am there. Not because it's just, but you've already indoctrinated her that when you come, when you serve, you don't expect anything back. You're given a salary, all right? So you've made a decision, all right? For the time I am going to work here, that my salary is what is going to pay me my life, and I need to have conform my lifestyle, expenses and all that to what I get here, not from any inducement that Prof and Gowi are going to give her to be able to get it in itself. So I don't owe her anything more. All right? I don't owe her anything more by that, because my tax money pays her salary, takes care of her upkeep. And so to workshop these ideas, and I think that is the thing that we need to be able to do that. So the religious institutions, I think, are winning in this place, and they win in the church in their discipleship models. And that is what we do in church. We disciple people in the understanding, in the teachings of Jesus Christ. All right? And hopefully it was going to now show up in how these people make their choices, make their life choices in itself. And I think that is... I think, unfortunately for us within the church, we don't necessarily see this as an asset that you can put into
to others, other situations and circumstances. So I think for me, what I'd say would be of benefit to Sophie and her group is look for places where people are going to indoctrinate you with these values. If you don't have them, there are people who are already doing them. And I think there has to be what Sophie is saying, somebody who has institutionalized those particular things. The thinking in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, Lee Kuan Yew had a school of ideology that did that. Chairman Mao had his thing that with the Red Book, and how he indoctrinated the entire Chinese youthful population on what China could be. Look at what they have today. We had something like that.
Even here, I think we can't say we don't have a history of that too, because some of the civic education, which has been carried out by, of course, the older generation of civil society actors. I was part of it myself. It was the liberation movement, the second liberation movement.
Absolutely.
And civic education was a big part of the changes that took place that led to the 2010 constitution. And it was just people coming from different directions and created educational programs, geared to, building capacity of potential young leaders to take office. Like I was training women political leaders. I was a capacity builder. I was doing prepared manuals for them, literally almost like taking them to a classroom. But they have to be available and willing. So, because if you come with the fixed views that, you are just coming to listen. One of the women told me, I just came to listen. I told him here there are no people for listening. You either you are listening to move with us or you leave. We are training women to take over politics and to go into that space where they've been excluded for a very long time. And I think it's the same thing I'm hearing you saying. And it's not hard to do. It can be done. And of course you bring in those elements that normally are exploited against any of Sophie's generation as part of the curriculum. These are the loopholes to avoid. These are the traps. These are the other. I used to tell the women political candidates, as you come into this, you better be prepared because you need to have very strong shock absorbers as you move. There will be many traps. There will be this. Look out for them. So you are not just changing their mindset, but you're also giving them strategies that can work, in terms of, ensuring that the barriers that are likely to be put in the way are minimized. Is that what I'm hearing you, Pastor, say?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. For me, I ran for political office in 2013. And successfully in itself. But successfully gained lots of experience in that. And I look to be able to bring this into now this generation. Say, these are the things I was naive about. This is where the things that I succeeded in. These are the things I hope to be able to accomplish. This is what you can do. And that's what I'm saying. They're like-minded people, older than I, younger than I, and all those who have gone through, some have served in civil society, others in government, who can be able to pass on this expertise to generations.
Yes. And here, I think it's a good point, Sophie, to turn back to you. Because your generation, rather than more so than the rest of us, you have benefited. You have been beneficiaries of these digital platforms. The TikTok, the X, etc., etc. There are many. And some of us who are mainly looking from the outside, because we are not as involved as yourselves, we see this, and we could be wrong, as a double-edged sword, where there are some very good things. Sophie may not be here if it wasn't for social media, because it's given you a platform from where you can express yourself, do what you have to do, and so on. But there is also a hidden danger sometimes that we don't think about, because we are so focused on our leaders who are in office, who have ruined our country and ruined our lives, that we forget is the owners of this social media are not local.
Yes.
And they are not necessarily government. There is an international, huge force out there called international capitalism.
Yes.
And it's brutal in its dealing. These things are not for free. And it builds and it can also destroy. Yeah? And my issue is you are looking at it as a space, as a platform from where you can also disrupt all the things that are going wrong in this country and other countries around the world, because Kenya is not alone on this, including disrupting political monopolies and other things. Have you considered that these institutions also, because they have their own interests, which are purely profit-making, that they also have a downside, that they could actually work against you rather than for you? And do you have any ideas about how to deal with that?
This is a very complex question. But, of course, everything has its pros and cons.
Yes.
And at this particular point, Prof, we have too much to lose. We're losing too much to even focus on the fact that TikTok is not Kenyan owned or X is owned by Elon Musk,
yes,
and the implications of that. Rather, what our focus as young people is how can we leverage these platforms to spread the message, first of all, of hope that Kenya is not destined for this kind of a life. We deserve a better sense of living. And the fact that, as Sophie, if I do a video in Nairobi, it reaches someone in Turkana, it reaches someone in America. It's what social media can do for us that is our focus at this particular moment. And in the event that a revolution does happen in Kenya, I would say we will greatly owe that revolution to social media. Because let me give you a good example. When the BBC Blood Parliament documentary was released, what they categorically said is they would not have put all that information together were it not the young people of Kenya taking videos and photos during the protest. And they were able to piece all those together and show us even the culprits, those who participated in shooting of young people. So we can use that as evidence in a court of law and show this person actually pulled the trigger on a young person. So right now, I think really our focus...
The social media is, you are quite confident, is a good friend of the Gen Z.
It's in fact our greatest tool. Yeah.
That you don't have anything to worry about, because remember, it is being used by also your enemies.
Absolutely.
And so who can also completely change the narratives or seek to change. I'm saying this for purposes of argument, because in other sectors of the society, it's not just the social media, but let me just say international capitalist forces in general. They have been part and parcel of the problem of keeping us where we are. And they are international, not local. Yeah? And, they have interfered a lot with our own development, when you look at it broadly speaking, even in terms of what we can sell, and what we can buy. So it's not just getting a voice, but all the things that when you become a leader, you have to address. Issues of transforming the economy and other things, job creation, etc. These are the guys who are pulling the strings. Yeah, without having to make any much effort.
Yes, but I think even those who are in power right now in this nation recognize what social media can do in terms of changing the political culture of this nation. And that is why they're so hell-bent, even on spending millions to bring a software to pick out dissenting voices on those platforms. So I believe if used objectively and in the right way, social media can really contribute greatly to changing the political environment of this nation.
So in short, you are saying that, the trick in harnessing the best out of social media.
Yes.
Share the same view, Reverend?
I actually do. I think social media is here to stay. In fact, not just social media and AI are here to stay. If we are not embracing those for the benefit of political development, social economic empowerment, human rights, we are not. We're being retrogressive in itself. I think this is something that we need to embrace moving forward.
I raised this a little earlier about the difficulty and the challenge of changing people's values especially when you are seeking a following and people like-minded. It can be, extremely frustrating, and sometimes you have to negotiate with people who do not want to change. Yeah. If you are put in that position, now I'm asking you also, Reverend, what is it? What is it you'd say this is a red line? That, that this is, the minimum that, we can take in terms of continuing with things we have inherited. Meaning you have to put a priority in terms of the values, the practices that you would be saying, this is not a negotiable issue. What would that look like, Reverend?
For me, one is integrity. When I say integrity this is a person who walks the talk and talks the walk. Is that the word it is? Mm-hmm. In the sense that this person is like Caesar's wife. That's what he says. This is almost incorruptible in itself. Mm-hmm. And there is an aversion and an intolerance, not just to corruption, but bending the system to benefit an individual. Mm-hmm. So that for me is a non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. Secondly, for me, is the rule of law. Mm-hmm. That there are already processes that are in place. Mm-hmm. So let's respect those ones and say, we have a constitution that we did in 2010. It took us years to be able to do that. Let us allow this thing to work. Mm-hmm. Right? It's an agreed document by the population. And so the rule of law, following that. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Why do we have borders riding on the pavement, on the walkway? Mm-hmm. That's a simple thing now. Mm-hmm. So you speak to borders and tell them, no, you're doing your business, but there are pedestrians walking on the sidewalk, on the pavement. Mm-hmm. You're a motorized vehicle, be on the road. That's a simple rule of thumb in itself. So those are as small as that, and to the big things about how you be able to do. Mm-hmm. Thirdly, I think there's a place for justice. Mm-hmm. For me, that is I think justice is where systems, individuals, or processes disempower or disenfranchise an individual or a group of people. Mm-hmm. But we're looking for that, a place where justice is. And this is where it comes to the fair distribution of resources. I think for me, those are the non-negotiables, where there are fair distribution of resources to individuals around the country. Mm-hmm. In 2016 or 2017, I can't remember, but it was when this is the thing that surprised me. I followed the Devolution Conference, the annual Devolution Conference. Mm-hmm. And it was being held in Kisumu that year. Mm-hmm. And there was a workshop where, I'm not sure if he was the CEC for Mandera or for Wajir. He said the first cesarean section, all right, you two are mothers here. Now, this is the first cesarean section
okay, in Wajir was done in 2016, since independence, the first known.
What was happening before that?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about the number of mothers who passed.
Yeah. Children.
Children who are not delivered. This is just simply because that service was never reaching the people of Wajir.
Yeah.
This is over 50 years of independence. They have not had a cesarean section, which we know what that does in itself. So that is an injustice, and that is an unfair distribution of wealth. Lastly, I'll go again, distribution. In the 2017 elections, this was very interesting. There is a pastor bishop man that I respect. He actually was my teacher in high school, but now he's a bishop. We went to visit him in Yatta, and he has a development program. This is Bishop Masika. And he has a good community revitalization thing about self-sustainable agriculture and that. And they are seeing results in their community. And during the time for election, that was just prior to the election, the MP from that end, or I don't know if it was the MP or somebody who was an aspirant, came and he said, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'll do. In a small baraza. That's what I'm going to do, all this. And he finished saying what he needed to say. And then Amze put up his hand. It says, now that you've said what you have said, what you want to do, are you ready to hear what we want? I said, okay, what do you want? He says, all we want here is a doctor, a dentist, and an OBGYN. That's what we want.
Imagine, that's simple.
That's simple. But this person saying, but these people, that's all they wanted. They want a dentist and an OBGYN. Hapo kwa hiyo hospitali. I want to be able to see if there's a non-negotiable, is that the people are actually being heard and their basic rights and basic necessities. Those are the non-negotiables.
And Sophie, a little bit on the same, but you have been extremely vocal, so we already know about your stand. You are big on constitutionalism, upholding the rule of law, accountable governance. But now that you are running for political office, if you had to remove those, not remove, but carry those values with you to grassroots politics, how would you implement that? Assuming the people you are going to lead, they also need to change. So how are you going to do that?
I feel like there's a lot of power in repetition. If you repeat something to me so many times, even if it is a lie, I will end up taking it as truth.
You're likely to be a very good company. I think you know what I mean.
Exactly. So I think the tool that we have in our hands right now is time.
Yeah.
So we have time to actively repeat what we need as Kenyans to the people at the grassroots levels. Because number one, they are the majority and they're the most used by the political class for their own political advantage. We are also, I like what he has said, that he is schooling political leaders, aspiring political leaders. But we now, who are the aspirants, we are taking political education and civic education to the grassroots levels. So we are holding town hall meetings. We are barging into markets and bus stops and chamas for mama. We are going to have political education and conversations about, Kenyans are taken advantage of because they do not know the power that they have.
Yeah.
So if I can show you the power that you have, that hiyo 200, usichukue hiyo 200. In fact, you deserve 20,000 or 50,000 shillings.
Or you can take it and consider that part of your the tax money, which was never.
I believe money is very spiritual. So if you take money,
I'm saying if you are desperate,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But in this particular perspective in this nation, money is not clean.
No, it is
so
not.
You will take it. You will be.
It may have come out of money laundering or something.
Absolutely. Ama imeandikwa ukishika kwa hii mkono akili yako inabomba tu. So you risk being brainwashed and hypnotized. Immediately the money touches your hand. And let's just be honest, for how long am I going to eat 1,000 shillings? If I break the 1,000 shilling right now, by evening, I'm so sure I will.
You're quite right.
Then also, as a youth movement, there is something called social justice centers. So we are trying to establish as many social justice centers in the grassroots levels, because now in these social justice centers, we are able to have conversations that are affecting us community to community. For example, there's a social justice center in Madare. There's a social justice center in Kayole. There's a social justice center in Githurai. The issues in Githurai are not the same as the issues in Kayole. So every single social justice center has a conversation about the issues that are affecting their community, and they chart ways forward on how they're going to make things change. In fact, they go to the extent of even using art and theater to spread the message faster into the communities. So right now, those are the tools, and also including social media. But right now, those are the tools that we're using to try and pass down these values. We appreciate the fact that it will take some time before we have a complete overhaul of our mindset shift as Kenyans. But it's the willingness to try.
That's right.
It's the willingness to be consistent at it that will get us to the goal. Yeah.
We are coming closer to the end, and I'm going to I ask both of you the same question. As a closing reflection before I give an opportunity for you to conclude. Remember, this episode was about who is passing the mantle. Yeah. And particularly looking in your direction, Sophie, if you had the power to shape leadership transitions, and this would be a transition for you, you are transiting from very, a leadership you think has let people down to a radically different type of leadership. And you have just come in, and it's, like you said, it's one step at a time. You can only do so much at one time. Yeah. What is the one thing you'd change to begin that process of making the mantle truly, truly pass to new hands? When I say truly, in a sustainable manner, because they get in and then it's like going down a mountain and you slide all the way back. Yeah. What is that one thing that you think would be, this is a thing that has to be done right away and cannot to completely sever the relationship with that past?
Political goodwill, intentionality, just wanting good not only for yourself and your family and your friends, but wanting to see everybody prosper, everybody living a dignified life. Because I mean, Prof, if I'm okay and you're okay, I have the capacity to come and tell you, Prof, I have this business idea, but I have 2 million, I'm short of 1 million. Give me 1 million and in 6 months, I'll refund you. You have the capacity to give me 1 million because number one, you have the 1 million. And number two, you trust that.
Oh, I don't think, are you talking about me or somebody else?
Well, hypothetically anyway, but let's just say you will trust me to give it to me.
That is true.
Knowing that the way things are, I can be able to multiply and give it back to you.
Correct.
But right now, you can't even ask your friend for 1,000 shillings because they're like, how will
what are you offering?
And how will you pay me back?
Exactly.
Look at yourself, how you going to pay this money back? So right now, I think the one thing that is really lacking that can change and will change the landscape of politics in this nation is goodwill. It is servant leadership. It is innate. It is just wanting to serve the same way you go to the office to serve your boss. I think. Yeah.
And you, Reverend, what do you think? You are changing a culture, a leadership culture that has been there for 60 years plus. Yeah? And you want to completely bring something new that is not temporary, is sustainable. What is the one thing you'd have to change right away to ensure that that momentum is sustained and you're able to move, and be able to achieve the rest of what must be achieved?
I would say it's shared prosperity. If I recognize that my prosperity is not at your expense, it goes a long way. We can learn this from our brothers and sisters from southern part of the region with the term Ubuntu philosophy. I am because we are. I think if that is the posture that we can be able to have, the shared prosperity, because I think it was Julius Nyerere critiquing Kenya. He said we are a man-eat-man society.
You are not born during those debates, Sophie.
That's true.
But there was a time we used to have those kinds of political exchanges between ourselves and especially Tanzania and Kenya. They called us barefoot, they called us man-eat-man society, and we called them back that they are barefoot socialists. That's during the days of President Nyerere, late President Nyerere, because we were really leaning very heavily to the East during the Cold War. But what is the substantive point?
Nyerere was pointing out to something.
Yes.
And because we had the monopoly of media and all those, it seemingly we won the debate. Okay. Kenya won the debate. And Nyerere said, all right, I messed up. This is something, let's go back to the drawing board. At least he had the wisdom to say, I did it wrong. All right. He had the wisdom to say, I did it wrong. Maybe we can go back to the drawing board and do that and look where
it is also his moral compass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Moral, it was there. And I think for him it was shared prosperity. It's just what I call nationalism. You're nationalistic in your thinking. That generation, we don't see them much
anymore.
But I think that is a thing that we can instill.
Yes. Now, my two guests, we are coming, very much towards the end, and a parting shot, so to say. Starting again with you, Reverend.
Yes.
What is the single most important lesson or value you would want the next generation to hold on to as they carry Kenya's mantle forward?
As Sophie put it, generation zote.
Yeah.
Yes. Mine is brief and simple. Mine is to tell. Leadership doesn't pick. You don't create leadership. History is the one that makes leaders. And we have reached an inflection point as a society. And it's evident with what has happened in the past year and a half with the Gen Z protests and the clarion call that has been. And so mine is to this generation and subsequent generation. It is your time to lead. So lead. Lead with confidence. Lead with courage. Nothing is given to you on the plate, but you have what it takes. So lead and lead with confidence. It's your time.
And more or less in the same area, Sophie. And now my question to you, to guide you in making this parting short. What would you, at this moment, assume all the Gen Zs who are your followers are now watching you. They've been listening since you've been here this morning. And you want to pass a message to them. What would your message, your key message to your fellow youth be? Those who feel excluded from Kenya's leadership, spaces, or in not just one space, but all the spaces. But they still desire to shape the future of this country. What would you tell them?
I would start by saying that sovereign power belongs to the people. The people are the ones who have the capacity to determine how their future should look like. Mm-hmm. So you as a young person, you're part and parcel of the people. Power belongs to the people. And the voice of the people is the voice of God. So you should not accept for your voice to be stifled. You should not buy into the fear of dissenting voices being taken out. Like my colleague has said, it is our time to rise. It is our time to lead. But most importantly, it is for us not to lose hope. That is the one thing that is continually dwindling in our generation. We've lost hope. We're willing to die. We're willing to lose ourselves to drug and substance abuse. We're willing to lose ourselves to the most immoral things just to make a living and just to survive. But it is only for a moment. If we can recognize that we are the majority, that power belongs to the people, and if you can just hold on to that hope for just a little longer, then things are definitely going to change. But lastly, is to remind you that being young doesn't mean you're good. So even in our generation of young people, it is important to filter the wheat from the chaff. Yes.
Very well spoken. I don't think there is so much else to be said. Kenya's governance challenge is not just about the old guard clinging to power. It is also about the courage to positively and sustainably transform leadership, which is what the Gen Z generation want to do. In the conversation we just had, we have said that and more. For as long as we allow autocratic structures of power, politicized ethnicity, and generational wars to remain unchallenged, renewal will stall. We have also, I believe, said repeatedly in this show today that when we dare to disrupt, when we demand inclusion, and when merit and not lineage becomes the measure, then a new era of transformative leadership becomes possible. Kenya's future, therefore, won't be built by the old rules. It will be forged by those who believe and practice boldness. Boldness enough to break barriers, to demand merit, and lead with a vision. As we conclude this episode, therefore, of the Mantle Podcast, it has become quite clear that the question of who holds and who passes the mantle of leadership is one of the most pressing challenges for Kenya's democratic future. The insight we have shared here today should remind us that a genuine renewal will require courage and a commitment to move beyond the old recycling of monopoly and patronage. And for this conversation, myself, the host, and our viewers, we are deeply grateful to these two guests, Rev.Gowi Odera and Ms.Sophie Mugure Njehia, for bringing their vision, their conviction, their lived experiences to this conversation. Their voices embody the possibilities of a new, principled generation of leaders ready to step forward. Thank you, my two guests, for joining us today. Thank you, viewers, for listening to us. Let's continue to reflect on how each one of us can contribute to building a more inclusive and transformative model of leadership for our country. Thank you all very much.